playing the weave, as Trump calls it.
Surprised he calls it that, because it's most people are going to assume that he's talking about his head, his hair when he says that, but maybe he doesn't realise it. I didn't get any physical content for 1988, and I'm a wee bit disappointed. I just forgot.
You feel sad about that?
1988 is we should probably start.
Are we starting?
How do you start a podcast?
So we're recording. Hello and welcome. 1988. Two fat ladies. Ryan and Rob.
That's Rob. I'm Ryan. Hello and welcome to CVXX. It's a retro show about nostalgia in it, about the past.
About nostalgia. Listen, thanks so much for the amazing response to CVXX. I need to tell you something. You have got to subscribe on the YouTube. You've got to click on the links.
See the bells and the buttons. You've got to be hitting them for us, because that's what we need you to do. The red bells and buttons is
links
what you need to
describes all formats.
Subscribe
and also,
to the links.
Listen, if you listen to this in a podcast format of your choice, then please also rate us 5 out of 5.
If that's what the scoring
maximum
system is.
scores, whatever the scoring
Don't
system is.
5 of us out of 10, please.
But we're in 1988. Now, 1988, Ryan, I was
11 years old.
11 years old.
It's a big year for me because I turned 10, so I had
double figures.
Double digits. And obviously, we brought up the last episode, and we'll talk about again. The Glasgow Garden Festival was happening in 1988, so it was a major cultural event was happening right in our city.
So 1988 was the Glasgow Garden Festival.
Yeah. You know, remember the logo? I'll put the logo on screen.
Two Fat Ladies Garden
Ladies.
Festival.
Opened by the now murdered Princess Diana.
Princess Diana, before she was murdered by the Queen, came to the Glasgow Garden Festival.
With her husband.
With
forget his name. I don't know
husband.
what happened to him.
I don't know. I think he's still kicking a ball somewhere. I don't think he's in the ground. But Glasgow Garden Festival. Do you remember attending the Glasgow Garden Festival? Right.
I went twice. I went with the school, and then I went with my parents. I got lost in the hedge maze of the Glasgow Garden Festival and cried because I wanted my mum.
I went twice as well. I went with the school and I went with my family. And I remember going on like an Iron Brew roller coaster that went upside down.
That's right.
And it was a terrible, terrible mistake deciding to go on that, because
had you ever been on one before?
I'd never went on an upside down roller coaster in my life, and it was a terrible, terrible mistake.
Our friend Jerry McLaughlin took me to Blackpool one time, and he made me go on all the roller coasters, because that's what Jerry does, and that's the kind of thing Jerry does.
That's the kind of guy he is.
So I just had my eyes shut the entire time I was in Blackpool.
Did you go on the big one in Blackpool, the big giant one?
We went on Oilham. Literally Oilham.
Speaking of Blackpool roller coasters, and I'm sure this was around and still in 1988, the Grand National was one of the best wooden roller coasters in the world, and that would have existed in 1988. That's a very old roller coaster that was in the Pleasure Beach in Blackpool.
Just reminded me that I went on one in the SECC that was dead old and wooden and rickety, and it scared the shite out of me at the time. You just reminded me. Interesting. So that's 1988. I hope you've enjoyed our overview. That's all that happened.
That's all that happened in 1988. Actually, do you want to hear something that did happen in 1988 on January the 26th of 1988, which was a date that didn't hold a great deal of meaning for me at that time? Has more meaning now because one of my oldest daughter, was born on January 26th. But Phantom of the Opera, starring Michael Crawford by Andrew Lloyd Webber, launched. Michael Crawford of Ooh Betty fame, of Some Mothers Do Have 'Em.
You all right?
I'm just doing Michael Crawford.
Oh, right.
Betty. All that stuff. Became the Phantom of the Opera, a story in theatrical form about the Phantom of the Opera.
Have you seen him in it?
Have I seen him in it? No, I've never seen him in it. But he's an incredibly talented individual, Michael Crawford.
I hear that, which is weird, because he's in Some Mothers Do Have 'Em, then what you were just saying. Exactly like that.
A stuntman as well. He was the Tom Cruise. Michael Crawford, for anybody who's listening to this isn't aware, was kind of like the UK's Tom Cruise of the 1970s. He would do all his own stunts in a British sitcom, roller skating down the street, hanging onto the back of buses, and biting the cat, the whoopsie on the carpet.
That's really good.
Thanks, Ryan.
Really good.
Also, 1988 is significant because it was the very first comic relief. It was the first year comic relief happened.
Do you remember how exciting comic relief was? Really exciting. It was a whole night of comedy and some sad stories.
Yes, it was very exciting because all your favourites would all be together in the one room doing the show. Lenny Henry was right there from the start. Griff Rhys-Jones.
I feel as if it introduced the concept to me of staying up until 2 or 3 in the morning watching telly as well, because it was somehow allowed because they were still showing stuff up to that time.
Well, over the years as well, I'm pretty sure that it was later at night when the kind of people that we loved would come on as well. That would make you get your Reeves and Mortimer would be later at night and stuff. But that's down the line. Reeves and Mortimer are just a twinkle in the comedy commissioner's eye at this point. Also, this is significant for CVXX fans. On April the 5th, 1988, Ryan, the final episode of Crossroads aired.
Oh, God. How long's that then?
A long time.
Very long time.
We reviewed that on one of our earlier episodes of CVXX. Already we've been doing this show so long, haven't got a clue what's even happening. But
85, maybe 85.
Why are you whispering today? By the way,
I've noticed right here.
I've noticed that you're really whispering up here. 1985. No, I can hear you. I'm just wondering if there's a reason why you're whispering.
I was about to say send into our PO box what year we did Crossroads, and which has reminded me we actually got a wee bit of viewer content.
Oh yeah, we have a viewer's postcard, don't we?
Straight from Japan, the country of Japan.
So let's get that up on the screen. Guffed were really pleased about this. They've analysed it. They've taken all the extracts that they need.
I can even show you what the guy says as well, because he wasn't rude on the postcard, which was nice.
It's nice. You don't need to be rude.
You don't need to be rude.
Now, Ryan, would you like to talk about some content? Some 1988 content. Now, obviously, this was before the term content was even invented. The word content from the Latin contentia, meaning shite on the internet, hadn't been invented
disposable,
yet.
Forgettable shite.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to CVXX, sponsored by Guffed Industries.
I remember playing Battle Chess on the Amiga, but here's a bridge we need to cross here. I did not play it in the year 1988. However, we've come to a decision, haven't we, Ryan? Explain it.
Well, we have to, what we've realised, especially this year for me as well, I've got a wee list of Amiga games that are out this year, but I'm not playing them maybe 4-5 years for now. But we can't cover them in 4 or 5 years because there'll be more stuff out in 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
We'll be caught in the same situation then. So we just need to cover them as they come out.
We need to cover them as they appear. And this is the year that Battle Chess came out. Now, Battle Chess is an interesting one, Ryan, because it's just chess.
Yeah. But there's wee animations that take ages to load.
Wee animations that take. So it's a kind of, if you can imagine even slower chess, that's kind of what Battle Chess is. But I remember it being quite impressive at the time. I remember it being quite exciting.
There was something about the graphic style that was nice and solid, and you were contained within the chess. No, you didn't have to. There wasn't like a massive game world. You were contained within a chessboard, so there was something nice and contained about it, and the animations were nice and solid. I remember that much, but I didn't really like it that much.
Here's a question. See, before you played Battle Chess, right? You'd obviously played chess before that point, right? When you played chess in the theatre of the mind, right, in your imagination, right? Yeah. Did you ever perceive chess to be like a battle?
Oh, for sure.
Or did it? No, but did you actually? Or was it always in its abstract form?
When me and my cousin Michael, who probably is mostly responsible for teaching me how to play chess, when we used to play chess, you know the straightforward rule that when a pawn gets to the end of the board, it can get promoted. Yeah. But you can promote it to any type of piece. Most people will pick a queen because it's the most powerful piece, but you can promote it to any piece that you want. So Michael would promote his pawn to a bishop, but he would put a test tube on top of the bishop and he would say bishop in space. And the chess the chess game was then happening in some kind of space realm.
I see. So the theatre of the mind was happening there. So I was just wondering about that.
And again.
Because you're more a chess guy than me. I've never really been a chess guy. But I was just wondering if Battle Chess kind of introduced a more kind of animated, a chance to kind of build a fantasy around a game of chess that, existed purely in the abstract
I'm
form.
sure we'd already had in like sci-fi fantasy films, like variations of chess that had animations. It was in Star Wars one.
Well, that's true. That is true. There is that kind of chess thing in Star Wars.
I'm sure it's happened in Star Trek as well.
Yeah, but whether it was... Yeah, I'm pretty sure. You're right. Ryan's right. Listen, Ryan's the guy you want to talk to about chess.
I didn't like battle chess that much.
Oh, thanks for deflating that.
There was another Amiga game that I've forgotten the name of. Grandmaster, is it? That was out a few years later. It was a guy with a big long white beard.
Yeah. He was always kicking about the chess games, wasn't he, that old guy?
We're going to stick still to a couple of telly shows, film and games. Most likely a lot of Amiga games.
You choose what's first, my brother.
Right then.
My brother.
So, right then. I don't want to jump into the film straight away. So let's start with a bit of American content. I don't know if you've heard, he's a singer and he's a dancer. And he's from a very famous family background called the Jacksons. And we're going to talk about Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson, I've got a funny fact about Michael Jackson. Some years before, Michael Jackson was making an advert for Coca-Cola and his hair went on fire.
Seriously?
Yeah.
I think it was Pepsi.
No, was it Pepsi? No, Ryan. What are your thoughts on Michael Jackson's hair going on fire?
Well, I think I've described this before, but I think I have quite a dualistic reaction to seeing Michael Jackson's hair and head, indeed head,
is beautiful,
gone on fire. It's tragic. I think it represents a really tragic moment in Michael's life.
Yep.
But it's also quite funny as well.
It is true. I think it's true to say that when you're...
It's a far, far more tragic version of like Bobby Davro falling in the stalls and everybody being panicked because
when he's in the stocks and that thing there. Yeah. That was that a Coca-Cola advert? Or was it just the Bobby
Blair
Davro show?
was in it as well.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a Coca-Cola advert.
Well, we decided in 1988 Michael Jackson released his seminal album Bad, which was produced, of course, by Quincy Jones, who only just died in the last week. Quincy Jones died. Michael Jackson in the ground long before Quincy Jones. But Bad was released in 1988. It was the follow-up to Michael Jackson's Thriller.
Hard to keep Michael Jackson in the ground, like it would float up like a balloon.
Well, he's definitely dead, Michael Jackson. There's never been any rumours, when famous celebrities die, Elvis and stuff, there's always rumours that they're maybe still alive. But there's never been a rumour that Michael Jackson's still alive.
Nah.
Everybody
went, that makes sense.
That makes sense. But Bad came out in 1988. Ryan, do you remember, were you a Michael Jackson fan in these days?
I definitely remember on the same kind of level as Madonna. Less so Prince. I've not heard as much Prince by 1988. But Madonna and Michael Jackson they had such a star quality that was unlike other music artists. So I think I was a fan. I wasn't a collector of music at the age of 10. Yeah. But I definitely I remember somebody who was in your unit at school, Craig McLean, who I hung out with for years and years. We kind of called each other cousins for years. Did that thing.
Shout out to Craig McLean.
Hello, Craig. He had the album on tape, and I remember it being played on repeat at his. So I would say I was definitely a fan of Michael Jackson.
I was 100%.
He was like a fan. It was like he was like a comic book character or something like that. It was much, much larger than life.
Larger than life, much. I mean, that was the thing about this time as well, and the thing about the 80s was that people could be famous on a level that was kind of difficult to comprehend. Mm-hmm. Nobody feels very famous these days. These days, nobody really feels very famous.
Things are so much more dispersed than they were before. The channels of fame were narrower in the 80s.
Anyway, Michael Jackson decided he was going to release his follow-up to the massively successful Thriller. And for the release of the single Bad, announcing his return to the global scene, he got Martin Scorsese in to direct.
As you do.
To direct the music video. I kind of feel it's one of the weird things that's almost been forgotten by time, the fact that Martin Scorsese directed a Michael Jackson video. Mm-hmm. Not only did Martin Scorsese direct this Michael Jackson video, but he also directed it in black and white. It was primarily in black and white.
Yeah. The non-musical sections, I think, were black and white.
Yeah, and it was shot by Mike Chapman.
Did you know that Martin Scorsese also directed Taxi Driver as well, the film Taxi Driver?
Yeah, I did know that.
Did you?
Yeah, I did know that. It was shot by Mike Chapman, by the way, who was the DOP on Taxi Driver and Raging Bull, and also on The Last Waltz, which is a concert. Yeah, it's a concert movie about the band. It's a fantastic movie. So Martin Scorsese, he's no stranger to doing music stuff either, you know.
Did he do a Rolling Stones thing a few years ago as well?
Yeah, I think he did. Yeah. And it's just recently been announced, bit of a time slip here, but he's also produced a documentary about the Beatles, which is coming this year. But Michael Jackson, the story of Bad.
Daryl! Listen, I want to say before you go, you know, you did a real good job this term, and I guess I'm proud of you, you know? See how hard you're working.
Thanks. Thank you.
High five, my man. Take care.
Bye.
This is brilliant, man, talking about, like, telling the young team, you know, all these young people that listen to this or watch this show about Bad and Michael Jackson. The story of Bad is that Michael Jackson is away at college, trying to improve himself, right? He's trying to improve himself. He's returning home for college. He gets called Dobie Gillis at one point.
Man, what's up, Dobie Gillis? What you ain't ready?
Does he? Never heard that.
Yo, Dobie Gillis. Hey, what you doing, Dobie Gillis? And I was like, what the fuck does Dobie Gillis mean?
Did you Google it?
And I Googled it, and Dobie Gillis was a character in an American sitcom who was a character who went away to college. He was always trying to improve himself all the time. So that was why he was getting called that. So a lot of details I wouldn't have picked up when I was a kid. I remember watching Bad when I was a kid, and the shock at being in black and white. It's like, wow, it's like a real movie. And it starred, of course, Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes is in the mix. Now, what did you pick up? What was the vibe of Michael Jackson and his pals? They were like street hoods.
Street lads.
They were street hoods, right? Yeah, but they were muggers and stuff, right?
Yeah, crumbs.
They were muggers.
They were in the crib. They're living on the streets. These guys, they're gangbangers.
And Michael Jackson's no Michael Jackson in this, by the way. In the Thriller video, he's Michael. His girlfriend's like, stop it, Michael, stop turning into a werewolf.
True.
Not right.
True.
Whereas in this, his name is Daryl.
What's Scorsese, isn't it? He's an artist.
Yeah. He lives in a fucking. His place lives a shithole. I just want to say. I'm sorry.
Area or the
area comes for as a shithole.
Yeah. It's surprising that he managed to get out of that area as unscathed as he looks, because you'd think he'd be getting a hammering every week.
He looks very. How would I put this? He doesn't look very tough.
No. He also looks. We're getting towards looking a wee bit odd.
We're definitely. I feel like definitely if you walked in the street in that neighbourhood, people were like, "Hey man, what's going on? You look a bit odd, man." Wouldn't they?
That's exactly what they would say.
I just don't think he'd be able to navigate that world.
See, before I go back to the hood though, my first note that I wrote down was 40 seconds in, because he's starting in college. You see him in college, so he's around all these other college people, mostly whites, and he high fives a guy in the hall, and I just thought that was really embarrassing. Personally, I just thought it was really embarrassing.
Why?
I don't know. It was just I don't know.
Ryan would never have high-fived anybody at school.
No, in the hall.
I don't remember you high-fiving anybody ever at school.
No.
Not even maybe in adult life. I don't remember you high-fiving either. You're not a high-fiver, are you?
I'll do it when I'm at work, when I'm doing my care work.
You high-five people at work?
Aye. No staff.
People you're caring for?
Aye.
What does that say, though, that you wouldn't date in adult life, or you wouldn't date at school, you wouldn't date moving around in the world, but you would date at work? What does that mean?
I don't know. Would you date in the street, in the hall?
Fucking high-five.
This is probably not much of a detail we're picking up on here. I just thought
listen. I would high-five anybody. I don't think there's anything weird there. There's a point where Michael Jackson, they see a gun at one point, and Michael Jackson does not like it when he sees a gun, didn't he know?
No. He's moved away from that part of his life.
But there's also inconsistencies.
You can tell that, you know, I mean, he's probably killed people in the past just to get by before he got out of the hood.
Well, this is what I don't get, Ryan. Can I just say this is what I don't get about the Bad video, right? And I think there's a narrative inconsistency here, because he comes back to this neighbourhood and everybody's like, "Oh, you're away to college and all that. Look at you," and he is going back to his old world and his old pals who he obviously used to do muggins with because they're like, come on, let's do what we used to do, man. And they go to their bugging. Mugging, go a bugging. Yeah, but you're bugging. It sounds like something Michael Jackson would say. No, man, you're bugging.
What was his name again?
Who?
What'd they call him again?
Don't be careless, you're bugging. So he goes out. You know, and then he sees a gun and he's like, oh, and I think this boy must have seen, if you're telling a story that this boy's for this world, he must have seen a gun a million times, right?
I know.
It doesn't make any sense.
It was Michael Jackson for a second instead of Dobie Gillis.
Obviously the song's called Bad, right?
Why is it called Bad now? Why is it not called Dobie Gillis?
Dobie. The Dobie tour. Michael Jackson, because the single's called Bad, they've worked into the script a constant, are you bad? You still bad, man? You bad?
They say it a lot. They really say it a lot.
You ain't bad. You down, man. You ain't down.
I wonder if there was any point when Wesley Snipes was a serious actor at this point. He's approaching the peak of his career. Around about this time, Wesley. Is that true? Maybe 90s?
Oh, wait, no, he was.
90s?
Yeah, he was like, this was Moni's ascent.
Star.
Yeah,
He's a star anyway. I wonder if when he was reading the Bad script, he was like, should there be as many bads as this? Is this a typo?
He probably just looked at it and went, this is bad. Probably just said, get it? This is bad, he probably said. Now, when I was a wee guy and I was at school and I watched the Bad video, I can't tell you how many times I would walk about saying, you ain't bad, you ain't nothing. I used to say.
Probably a delight.
Which is what Michael Jackson shouts at Wesley Snipes. You ain't bad, you ain't nothing. And then, that's when they have this face-off, it goes into colour.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, 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 dun.
You ain't nothing!
Here's the weird thing, right? You've got Scorsese directing, right? You've got one of the best directors that ever lived. You've got one of the best DOPs that ever lived. See when the music starts and the magic starts.
I know. You want Bob Fosse in, that's what you want for that.
No, I'm not complaining about the video. I'm just meaning like all you need is that guy, man. All you need is that guy, Michael Jackson. All you need is that
right,
boy.
I see.
That's all I'm talking about. I mean, I really love the Bad video.
I was being a wee bit critical about it in my head because I was kind of looking at how it was just a lot of cutting to the beats and no doing much like camera wise, but you're right in what you're saying.
But it's kind of like obviously Scorsese's when I'm going to shoot this kind of like West Side Story. That's what he's had in his head. Michael Jackson's kind of doing his own thing, right? But it's really iconic stuff. If you've not watched the Bad video in a long time, I think you should watch it. I think you should watch the whole thing because I think we forget just how great it is. It was a 6-week shoot, Ryan.
Was it?
6-week shoot.
How is that even possible?
And I was looking at some of the choices as well of like when Michael Jackson is banging it right down the lens and when he isn't banging it right down the lens, and I was quite fascinated by that about exactly how and when the choices were made. Oh man, I just thought it was great. I just thought it was great. Once you're in the actual, you're telling me that a cappella bit at the end that you can forget about as well. You're doing wrong.
There's funny bits in it as well.
Oh, that's funny.
With 9 minutes in, there's a load of steam and just everybody's breathing. I think there's a good 30 seconds of just everybody's breathing.
Yeah.
It's quite funny. It's quite Tim and Eric and quite funny.
Nobody looks very tough. And Wesley Snipes looks quite tough, doesn't he?
He's been in some belting films that we'll hopefully talk about in future episodes.
But listen, the outfit, the gear, and of course, very important to me because the Bad tour in 1988 was massive for me. The Bad tour.
Did you attend?
Because I attended. My ma took me to see Michael Jackson in Wembley Stadium in 1988 on the Bad tour. And I remember really well, my mum would have been let me think, she would have been about 53 at the time. And I remember she'd go to this cracking kind of white outfit. She'd go to look cool as fuck. And I remember thinking at the time when I was thinking, my ma's, old. Do you know what I mean? Oh, she's old, but she's kind of like, look, she's kind of dressed up quite youthful for this. And then now you're kind of like 53's not even that old. You know what I mean? Yeah. And we went down on this kind of tour bus. It was like a
to London
package. Yeah, it was like a package. It was like a tour bus that went down to York, I think, and then we stayed in York for a night, and then the bus took you to Wembley Stadium. The next day it was one of the kind of package deal things. And there was this old woman who was taking the tour. She was like the tour guide woman, and she must have been like 70 or something. And she was really old, and I remember her really clearly as well. And she wore like kind of paisley pattern waistcoat, and she was like, "Oh, you're all going to see Michael Jackson? That's so exciting," and all that. And she was kind of trying to talk about Michael and playing Michael Jackson music on the bus, and you could tell that she just did all sorts of tours, so it wasn't a thing, And then I remember going to the gig, and it was amazing. And Michael Jackson turned into a werewolf during the live show and stuff, and being there with my mom. And it struck me, Ryan, that when I have this memory about the bad tour and the significant figures from that memory, myself, my ma, that 70-year-old woman that did the tour guide thing, and Michael Jackson himself, I am the only one still alive. Everybody else is dead.
See the end of the bad video. Do you think that was do you think it was well resolved? I was a bit confused by how the relationship stood at the end, because they just left. And
well, Michael Jackson performed his music video, right? He was challenged about whether you're still bad, and then he performed his music video, and then Wesley Snipes went, "Oh, fair enough."
They just left.
What can you
say?
say?
They're no pals anymore now because
no,
of
I think
that.
they're still pals. They
Are they?
respect each other, but you see a guy doing that, what Michael Jackson did, and how you're like, what I took for it, right? I remember when I watched it as a wee guy, I remember thinking to myself, "Oh, he's proven that he's still tough," right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you watch it now, you're like, there's nothing tough about what he does. And then I think to myself, I got it wrong when I was younger, because what he's actually proven is that you can be bad in other ways. You don't need to be bad in the terms of...
He's powerfully expressing himself in something that he's really good at.
Yeah, he's artistically bad. He's been bad artistically. And another, the story about it was supposed to be a duet with Prince, right?
No, didn't he? No.
Bad was initially intended to be a duet with Prince, and the song was sent to Prince. Prince spoke about this, and Prince said, I got the song through, and I said, there's no way I'm doing this, because the first line is, "Your butt is mine." And I says, I'm not going to be singing that to him, and he's definitely not going to be singing that to me. So that's a true story. There we go. So that was bad. Michael Jackson, long dead in the ground, and many more stories to be told about Michael Jackson over the years as we cover it in CVXX. He's definitely a significant figure through the 80s and 90s,
for sure,
who we will revisit
sure.
again and again. I can't wait till we get to that Martin Bashir documentary. The Martin Bashir documentary, I'm sure we'll cover.
Oh, we also have to do the Derek Acora seance as well.
So he'll be back. Michael Jackson will be back. Michael Jackson will return. Ryan, I want to talk about another game here, if that's okay.
Game? What system?
I want to talk about another game, because I don't know. The problem is we've not spoken about each other's games, so my worry is a wee bit that I might want to talk about something that you also want to talk about.
Maybe no.
Because
I'll count them here. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Wait a minute though. Don't.
6, 7. I've got 7 Amiga games. I think you're unlikely to have any of them.
International Karate Plus. No, you don't have IK Plus.
Didn't even realise it was out in 88.
IK Plus.
I was playing that about 2 weeks ago. It's flawless. It's as good. No,
that game has not aged a day.
Mm-mm.
It landed like a fucking bomb in Britain in 1988. And this is the Amiga version I'm talking about, and I think it's a good chance to take a wee look at it. If you're only listening to this in audio form, I really feel for you right now, because I'm showing you International Karate Plus, IK Plus, hanging on my wall like a piece of art And that's what it is. It's an absolute work of art. I mean, simply look at it. Look how good this game still looks. It's absolutely beautiful. The animation is absolutely out of this world. These wee characters, I mean, look at it. I feel for you if you're only listening to this in audio form. Guffed loves you to watch the videos, and this is why. Because that's hanging on my wall like something you would see in the Louvre in France. But how does it play, Rab, after all these years? Well, my daughter was faithfully filming me here as I started to shake off my ring rust or my karate rust, and slowly the rhythm started to come back to me. It's a game, of course, as you probably know, all about checking your distance and busting out the right move at the right time. It's a game that's fantastic played alone, but is even better when played with others. There's nothing quite like a fighting game where you're dealing with two karate men on either side of you trying to take you out. It's so thrilling and so frightening. And I really mean that. It's frightening. It's kind of scary. You've always got to worry about that strike for the front or the strike for the back, and it's a brilliant design choice to make it a three-player fighter. There's no many three-player fighters out there, is there really? I mean, there's no many games where you're having to worry about attacks coming for the back and the front, and it really sets this game apart, and I think it's partly the reason why it's managed to retain all its glories over these past, I mean, how many years is it now? It's a lot of years, man. We're dying, we're getting old. One of the most ridiculous things about this game is that its wee bonus levels where you're just deflecting the bouncing balls with a shield is good enough to be a game in its own right. Like, in 1988, you could have bought this game, which is just about deflecting balls. This game is just fucking ridiculous, man. It's, boof, stuck a heat on you. What about you game-wise you getting for me, Ryan?
Did you play? Are you able to play with a zipstick on Amiga?
I have a zipstick. Yep.
That was the because you IK Plus. You need it because you've got your up diagonals and your down diagonals. Yep. You need that stick to snap it into the positions. I'll go Amiga as well. There's no beating IK Plus, but I don't think any of the games on my list actually can beat a game as that. Most of the games I've got Amiga games I remember fondly, but I know they're no good. Let's talk about...
That's even better. I love that stuff.
Let's talk about Forgotten Worlds.
Oh, jeez.
I've seen this intro so many times on the Amiga over the years, so many times, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. It's a multiplayer game that me and my cousin used to play, and I've seen this so many times, but it never fails to... Did you find the guy?
I'll finish you today for sure.
Never fails to mystify me, is what I was going to say. It's just a something. Is it just me, or is there just something confusing about what you're looking at here? What's the setup? We're where? Who are we? As I say, this is a multiplayer game, so one of the sad discoveries that I made when I was recording this footage is that it's not as easy as it seems to have been in the past to just like get a pal to come run so you can play some game footage. It's just life's not like that anymore. You can't just go, can you come run? Because I need a second player for Forgotten Worlds on the Amiga. People haven't got time for that chat. So what would have been my cousin's guy there in the orange pants, actually I would have been orange pants man, this would have been Michael, but that's Michael there with the orange pants just floating there, annoyingly doing better than I'm doing, even though he's literally no moved. This is the best he's ever played, actually, thinking about it. He's usually used to continue by now. Jumping forward a wee bit in the footage, I've died myself, but I've realised that if I can wiggle the mouse, I can control Michael's character as well, and my corpse floats into a shop. But I can't, because I'm dead, I can only use the mouse to navigate in the shop, so I have to randomly wiggle the mouse a bit until I can get onto the button that lets me leave the shop again. That was actually one of my favourite parts of replaying the game, was that trying to navigate out of the show. Playing the game is just a disaster. It's just a disaster. And to think that I think so many, I mean, happy memories going to the van, having juice and sweeties and stuff, but playing this, we shouldn't have been playing this. We shouldn't have played this. Controls like an arse. I don't even know what that means.
Excellent. Ryan, you want to hear another wee fact about 1988?
Go on then.
1988 was also significant because that was like really heavy into the Reagan and Gorbachev era. It was like Reagan and Gorbachev trying to get rid of all the nukes and it felt like a good time, that, didn't it? It felt like, hey, the future's going to be quite bright. I remember thinking in 1988.
Aye. The empire is sort of kind of everybody's getting together sort of thing.
Well, that kind of Threads type nuclear fear dissipated around about this time because suddenly you had these world leaders looking like they were pals, looking like they were getting on with each other. Obviously, Thatcher was in the mix there. Thatcher in 1988 had become the longest serving Prime Minister of the 20th century.
Most powerful leader of our time.
What other show are you going to get amazing historical facts like that? Only on this. And Scottish Sandy Lyle won the US Masters in the golf as well.
Wow.
Which really sticks out in my mind because I remember my dad watching it. My dad would watch the Masters. My dad would stay up and watch the golf. He wasn't a golfer. He wasn't really into golf, but he liked to watch it.
It's very relaxing.
Yeah, it's very relaxing. Sandy Lyle. Now for the US Masters. And they get that nice green jacket on, didn't they? I always remember thinking to myself, see if a Rangers fan became a brilliant golfer and won the US Masters and they tried to put that green jacket on him, but like, no fucking wearing that. Get up, no fucking wearing that green jacket, man.
Big sash.
Walking into the Loudon Tavern wearing that. You ain't on, man.
Finished?
That's me done.
Cool. Let's talk about the film next, eh?
Yeah, let's talk about the film.
When in 1988, I think approaching the peak fame, I would think of James Woods, the actor James Woods. Would that be fair to say?
Well, I mean, I think James Woods had quite a consistent career. Obviously, Videodrome was earlier. He's had a bit of a funny career. I would say his best was yet to come.
He's had a bit of a funny career and he's made a bit of a funny film here. So we're going to talk about the film Cop.
Harry, I need printouts on all the unsolved female homicides in Los Angeles County for the past 15 years. I need them on my desk as soon as you can get them, okay?
Last 15 years?
Yeah.
You got it.
Thanks.
Cop, 1988, starring James Woods, Charles Durning. So, to explain what Cop's about, Cop is actually based, and I didn't know this, I've seen this film before, but I didn't actually know it was based on a James Ellroy novel called Blood on the Moon. Did you know that? Did you know it was based on a book? No, I didn't
until this viewing, no.
I didn't know that was the case.
I had always assumed, I think, that James Woods had written this film himself.
I mean, you would think so. It was originally called Blood on the Moon, the film, but they decided in their wisdom before they released it to change the name to Cop. And it was there's some amount of big tits in this film.
It's the 80s in it, and as I say, it has this feel of, because this is co-produced also by James Woods, so it's a Woods Harris production. It's the director and Woods that are basically making this film.
James Woods, I think, auditioned every woman that's in this film.
Aye, for sure.
Made
sure that they're all right being licked by him because he likes to lick them.
So James Woods, before we go any further, obviously James Woods in later years became an interesting and kind of controversial figure as well. A bit of a kind of right winger and all that, and
this is
a bit of an odd individual.
This is a performance that we're watching in this film, but I feel as if you're able to just have
see the guy, right? You can
see a seed. You can see a seed.
You can see the guy. So there's a lot of well-endowed women in it, and James Woods, who has to be one of the less attractive lead actors.
It makes
in film history, right?
The way I've got a lot of notes. Maybe the most notes I've made on a bit of content so far making this podcast. But one of the notes is how ludicrous it is that the female characters just fawn over him. Just on first meeting, they're just like, "Would you like to have sex with me?" Basically,
everybody wants to have sex with James Woods in this film. Everybody fancies James Woods, except his wife. His wife can't be bothered with him.
Well, that makes sense.
But even the one woman in the film who can't be bothered with him did at one time have sex with him because he's got a daughter. So the film Cop is about a cop who comes across this serial killer. He stumbles on a serial killer, a serial killing of a young woman, very graphic violence. And this young woman is also a feminist, right? She's got a lot of feminist books on her shelves now. So right away, you know, it's going to be an interesting watch. This movie, right? It's going to be an interesting watch. And so James Woods' Cop character, now you'll notice I have no idea what the character's name is, right? Because Cop, his name is
Cop.
He goes, oh, that's a serial killer. I'm going to look into this, and he begins to realise that there's a serial killer who has been operating for some time, and he wants the department to get behind it, and the department don't get behind it, so he's kind of left investigating it on his own.
He links the cases together. I'll try and be as quick as possible. He links the cases together because he goes and talks to his superior, who's also his pal, who I think is really terribly cast, who doesn't manage that part very well. That's my opinion.
This is Charles Durning.
Aye,
he's too old.
He's too old, and I don't know, he should be a guy in a bar or something. He's definitely a good actor, but
I feel like Charles Durning is sitting there going, what the fuck is this?
Aye.
Like a day, you know?
Somebody as experienced as him has gone, there is some amount of dialogue in this film.
Yeah. But weirdly, there is a lot of dialogue in this film, Ryan, but there is also an awful lot of James Woods just staring at stuff.
Well, have you noticed anything about Cop while you were watching it? Like about the frequency, maybe, of the amount of scenes that James Woods is in?
Is he in every scene?
He's in every single scene of this film, from start to finish. The only bit, I don't know if I'll be able to find the time code, but the baddie, mind the baddie guy for Grease, he's in it briefly, like an hour or 10 in, but it looks as if he's in a scene, but he's actually just tagged onto a scene between Charles Durning and Cop. They have a conversation in the street, and then camera pans there. So they've managed to tag on like a kind of scene at the end, but other than that, he's in every single scene.
Well, look.
But it's supposed to be like a noir.
Exactly,
kind of
right. Full disclosure, right. So I remember Cop being good, right?
So, me too.
And watching it this time, I was about 20 minutes into it, and I was like, this is fucking pretty bad, right? But then I started thinking, okay, it's a noir, it's a film noir, it's trying to do that film noir thing, so that's why we're on this one guy navigating through this world, and it's why there are these silent moments, and it's why it's structured in such a, and it's why the dialogue is so stagey. The dialogue is really kind of expositional and stagey, and also things like the clues he gets are the most basic shit clues, and then they still feel the need to kind of underline them on whiteboards and stuff, like it's babies that are watching.
Aye, it's no convincing. It's not a convincing crime film. Yeah, he seems to be playing it almost like I think he thinks he's in Chinatown. He's
a troubled guy. His wife says at one point, "You're a completely disturbed person."
Aye, when she leaves him, I believe.
Yeah, it's in a letter, innit? She's kind of, and it's really weird because the letter's kind of like, I've decided to go and live with a friend. We will be okay over here, but I had to go. You're a completely disturbed person. It's just, and he's sitting reading this letter, just kind of like, oh, aye, all right.
I know that you and I have not communicated for a long, long time, and I'm not sure that we can again, as our values are completely different. You are a deeply disturbed person, and I cannot allow you to pass your disturbance on to Penny. I am withholding our address in San Francisco until I'm certain you will not try to do anything rash. I will call once we're settled. Until then, be well, and don't worry. Love, Jan.
You know what I mean? Like, he's got a letter in about how his eye test, it's time for his eye test at Boots. I'm completely disturbed, right, okay. And he reads that, but then he goes and shags a lassie, didn't he? So,
he just shags the pain away, doesn't he? Did you like the scene with him and his daughter when he was talking about all the cases, like mad cases that he was working on? And
so there's a scene early in the movie where he goes and his daughter's just about to go to bed, and in the usual cop movie, detective film, the cop would tell their kid a bedtime story or something, but what he does is he goes and he kind of tells her the details of horrible cases.
I've seen this type of scene. Cop goes to see child in bedroom, they're home late because they're working hard. I've seen this scene in so many different things. I've seen it done convincingly so many different times. what springs to mind specifically, maybe it's just kind of budget-wise kind of close. It reminds me of Steven Seagal, but I've seen him carry it off really well in his films. Like you go, like it makes you go, oh, he's in.
Softens.
Aye. Gives you more to the character, and that's Steven Seagal, but it doesn't. It's not the same thing in this.
James Woods seems to have no rapport with any other performer in this. No rapport. It's like he's met that actress for the first time. The actress playing his daughter when he goes into that room.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a bizarre.
She might as well not be there while he's rattling these lines off.
It's
loads and loads and loads of lines.
You don't buy him.
He's in
as
love with himself.
A father.
If it was chocolate, he'd eat himself.
And listen, he's a fucking completely mental looking guy as well. I've taken a lot of notes here as well. There's a sex scene. No,
The reason why he gives to his wife for talking to his daughter about crime stuff is he says innocence kills. That's what he says.
Yeah, but he also say that, you know, girls, they have too much expectations about fairy tale endings and that's why they end up junkies and that's why they end up fucking murdered and all that, right? And, you know, there's a kernel of something interesting there, but it's, you know, it's kind of being executed by sociopaths, maybe. No, there's a sex scene. I don't know how much of this we want to spoil. We don't care, do we? There's a sex scene at one point.
Is that in the kitchen?
Yeah, in the
33
kitchen.
33 minutes.
So
I've written Woods is really enjoying himself.
33 minutes. So there's a sex scene where an attractive lady and James Woods probably cast himself, and he's having sex with this woman. But then there's one of the most bonkers camera moves I've ever seen, where it slowly comes off the sex scene and goes across the kitchen worktop and then onto the grill where there's some bacon frying, burning.
Yeah.
And then onto some eggs. And it takes a long time. And then eventually you see a door closing. So there is a point to the move. But it's still an interesting choice to go across the entire kitchen worktop.
I don't want to defend this honker of a film, but if you remember a wee bit later, that lassie gets done in, but he puts her on the hob. So she's cooking on the hob as well.
Yeah, I can see that, but you still have to suffer that shot.
I know what you're saying.
You still have to, and there's an interesting shot later in the movie as well where this. I love CVXX. It's so specific. I spoke to Guft recently about, do we get too specific about stuff when people are listening to this? Maybe people don't care about, but they're like, no, get more specific, because the data we're getting is that these kind of specific things are what gets the proper reactions. So there's a scene later in this movie where James Woods is sitting in a room and he's looking back and forth at two separate spaces where there's nothing there. Right, so he looks at one space, there's nothing there, and he looks at the other bit, and there's nothing there, and then he looks back again, nothing there, looks back again, nothing there, just a wall, looks back again, just a door, just a wall, a painting, looks back again. It goes on for fucking ages, this scene. But then he eventually notices there's a bug above the door that was kind of hidden in plain sight. And again, it's another scene that actually, when you get to the end of it, it's actually quite, you kind of go, that's quite effective. It's like a cop sitting and he's having it made me think of in The Wire, they would talk about having soft eyes, the cops, remember? So they would look at stuff and they would notice stuff that other people don't see. And I thought that was really effective, but you still have to you're still sitting going, what the fuck am I looking at here?
I know. I preferred the scenes where it wasn't talking, though. Definitely. They're the ones where he was talking.
No, and you've got plenty of them, because there's a lot of scenes of James Woods looking at files, James Woods eating.
Sure.
There's a lot of eating. A lot of eating a pizza, a donut, eats a pot noodle at one point, he eats some kind of fruit flan. I'm not sure if it was a fruit flan or whether it's pancakes with fruit on top. Right. But
he's probably, I mean, as I say, it's produced by him as well, so he's got the catering sorted, so he's probably just coming straight for the food tables on set, I would imagine.
Yeah. He's probably not eating when he's at the house, when he goes home at night. He's probably not eating.
Why would you?
He's probably going home.
I remember when we're making video guiding for the BBC, the first thing we would do before we get the taxi up the road, we'd go up to the canteen and just fill our fucking bits. Family bags of M&Ms and whatever was gone.
There's a moment where he goes to see his boss and he says, I want a team of 10 guys on this. And the boss says to him,
that's bullshit.
Don't talk to me about bullshit, Hopkins. Everyone knows you have a wild hair up your ass about murdered women.
Which is such a fucking weird line, isn't it?
I know.
Like he's the only person that cares about murdered women It's a completely bonkers line.
Well, he's obsessed about it, isn't he? That's what.
Is that not a cop's job to
Is
be
that what
obsessed
hair
about?
up the ass means? Please send to our PO box and explain what hair up your ass means.
No. Yeah, here's the thing about having a hair up your ass. No. Do you have hairs on your ass?
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Do you have a lot of hairs on your ass? Do any of them...
As
are
many
any of
as
them
my
up it?
ass can accommodate, pretty much.
Are any hairs up
Are
it?
we talking about human hair? I thought we meant like a rabbit.
No,
like
it's definitely... I was wondering about this as well, but it's definitely a hair as in a hair.
Spelling.
Do you have any of the hairs that are on your ass, or any of them up your ass? Or is your ass...
I've not been checking, but I don't think they're up there.
So is the inside of your ass completely bald?
I'll guess and say aye. I think so.
Because that's an interesting one. Because I would... So I'm assuming the inside of everybody's asses is bald then.
I mean, I'm probably.
Do you have asses close? Do you have hairs close to the opening of your ass?
Aye.
So did any of them ever lean
Do
in?
I have a look?
Did any of them ever lean in?
Lean in?
Or
What
like
do you mean
get
for a
stuck in?
look?
Let's say you're wiping your bum, right? And
Right.
you push some of your hairs into your bum
Why would
closes
I
on
be
the
pushing
hairs.
in?
Well, you wipe out... Do any of your hairs get stuck in... When your bum closes, because it closes like a sandworm. Would any... Do any of the hairs ever get stuck inside
That's me
it?
not
I want to
gonna
know
be able
what
to-
having a wild hair up your ass feels like. Is it annoying?
No, I'm just thinking Han is just falling into a big bum now because of that.
Right, okay. So I don't even think having a wild hair up your ass would be that bad. I don't know.
Nah, you could probably ignore it most of the day.
Does the inside of your ass even have the same...
Me personally?
Does that just in general, does the inside of your
Is
ass
this guffed asking?
have the same feeling? You know how like your fingertips could feel a hair? Can the inside of your ass feel a hair?
Probably no. These are sensitive. There's definitely a difference.
So it's less sensitive, your arsehole.
Probably. I mean, I've not tested it that much.
Could you feel a penis? Could you feel a penis in your ass? Right. So
I liked when Cop met the feminist woman who instantly fell for him and was telling him a rape story of how she was raped while they were having coffee for the first time, having first met for the first time.
But what he does during that though?
Huh?
Did you?
I know.
He looks at his watch.
I clocked
He looks at his
it.
watch during that.
I liked bits like that. I liked wee touches like that.
Funny, right?
Aye.
There's also a scene where he goes back.
It does the same thing when he's in her apartment as well, doesn't it? I'm sure. Sort of
Well, he goes back to the flat with the feminist lady, and she's talking about her trauma and stuff like that. And he's just horrible. And eventually they get to the point where they're going to have sex, but she goes, I need to go and smoke some weed and have a shower and stuff like that. You stay there, I need to have a bath and smoke some weed. And she walks out the room and he goes, Jesus fucking Christ. And I really bust out laughing there. And I kind of thought, it's weird because I kind of thought to myself here, there's a better film here. Like, see if they really leaned into...
But
if they'd leaned into the humour of how horrible this guy is, instead of having a weird kind of heroic spin on occasion.
I thought that's in my memory. This was like artistically a lot better, this film, but also it was darker as well. It wasn't as dark as I remember. I was expecting like Bad Lieutenant, sort of Abel Ferrara's Bad Lieutenant. But
I mean,
well, nowhere near there. Nowhere near.
No, and he does some good proper falling asleep acting at one point though.
What was he doing?
There's a bit where he's falling asleep and his eyes are really rolling and all that. He's like, his eyes are kind of rolling back. And it's quite long, and I kind of thought, I respect the fact he's trying to properly execute falling asleep, which, you know, when you're watching the film, is quite easy to properly execute falling asleep as well. There's a really funny bit towards the end, but for some reason I was fucking howling laughing at it, was that, remember we were talking about the sex scene and it pans across and the door closes. Well, actually, the killer was there.
He was there the whole time.
And he took a photo of James Woods having sex with this woman. And then he sent a photo of this to the police. And they show this photo to James Woods and his partner, Charles Durning, and all of that. And James Woods is like, fucking so what, right? But it's when they leave the room and Charles Durning goes, this is shocking.
Okay. That's all.
Thank you.
This is shocking.
Ryan, did you notice the stuntman?
Whereabouts? Obviously, I didn't then.
When James Woods jumps down from the bleachers onto the... You need to look at that again. We need to get a clip running of this because this is the worst.
Don't even think about it.
I didn't look. See, before we get to that scene, that's the very end of the scene that you're talking about there. Cop kills another cop while he's suspended. So he doesn't have his gun in his badge.
Oh, he's not suspended yet.
No,
he's not suspended. Doesn't get suspended until later, I don't think, does he?
You sure? I should have checked.
Anyway.
I've written that down that he killed somebody while he was suspended. Anyway, he killed a guy anyway, and it was just kind of shrugged off. Nothing really happened that he killed a guy.
See, the weird thing is that I kind of...
Also, oh my God, the scene where he shoots the guy in the car who's on a date. What the fuck was that? And then he takes the lassie home. The guy dies. Like, he shoots the guy and the guy dies. And then it's like it never happened. It's like everybody acts as if it never happened. And then there's a dead body lying
Then the
there.
well-endowed lassie that was with the guy who just got shot dead kind of goes, oh, I kind of want to have sex with James Woods now. It's fucking demented, this film. So, Ryan, did you enjoy it?
No, I didn't.
Did you think you were going to enjoy it?
Yeah, I. As I say in my memory, I thought it was a better film. It comes off as quite. Oh, it's so easy to say these things, but it comes off as kind of lazy sometimes and self-indulgent and ludicrous as well, and trying to tick too many boxes, as you say, trying to go in too many directions with the character. Things don't make sense. I thought it was crap.
It's really mean-spirited.
Aye.
And James Woods comes across as a total wanker in it. And I'm not just saying that because of his political... I don't care about any of that stuff, right? I'm just... Because I like James Woods in a lot of stuff. I don't think he's good in this film.
He thinks that there are scenes in this film... I don't know what he thinks it nowadays, but he thinks that there are areas in this film where he is showing a softer side, but it isn't convincing when he attempts it.
It's like what it is like watching like a psychopath or an alien or something trying to be. I think it's worth a watch for people because it's so odd. It must have been so weird at the time as well. Like I don't even think it's a time thing because
it's definitely off kilter.
We've watched other stuff in 1988 that have like humans in it and part and all that, where you're like looking at this and it's not even like, you know, like an Abel Ferrara film or something where you feel like you're looking at real, like there's a sense of reality about it. This is just such an odd...
It's stagey and actory and, I don't know, as I say, self-indulgent.
And not...
It's off kilter.
It doesn't look good. It's like a TV show.
No, it's kind of... It's still like a kind of mainstream looking thing as well, but attempting not to be. And it's...
And Cop is well known for having a shocking and surprising, impactful ending. And I'm being honest with you, Ryan, when I watched it again, I was kind of like, what the fuck were we so excited about? Don't spoil it, but what were we so excited about?
Even within the film, there are mere shocking points.
Yeah.
There are mere points of, so by the end of the film, it's no effective.
No.
So,
it's also by the end of the film, like it's exactly what you expect to occur.
Yeah, you don't expect anything
different to happen. So it's such an odd movie. I would say though, it's worth a watch if you want to see a guy in the 1980s so kind of high on his own fame and high on his own.
Like thinking about it really simply, I've not heard that. I don't think I've heard any stories of Bruce Willis being an arsehole. Maybe he's definitely famous. I've heard stories where he's...
I mean, this is the year of Die Hard.
Aye. So it's keeping it really simplistic. It kind of looks like he's kind of famous in a good way, and James Woods is famous in a bad way.
Well, James Woods is... I mean, we're really kind of hammering into James Woods here, right? But
it's his film.
When an ugly guy gets famous and makes a bit of money, I think they act like James Woods. I'm going to cast all these women, the gorgeous looking women that would never normally look at me twice. I'm going to have them all want to have sex with me. I think that's a thing that happens. You know, and this is a beautiful example of it.
And lately you probably get people throwing themselves at you as well, I imagine.
There's and I don't want to listen, I don't want to say anything that is a...
But that's already happening to James Woods. But Naughty Cop. It shouldn't be happening to Cop.
No, it shouldn't be happening to the character Cop. I just want to say as well, and I hope Goff's law legal team take a look at this before it goes out. There's a vibe of people being on drugs in this movie is all I want to say.
It's 80s.
There's a vibe of, I'm not going to name any names about who might be on cocaine during this movie.
The speed that he talked to his daughter in that scene.
Yeah.
Just... Sorry,
but
what
I'm
you
not.
saying
But
about,
I'm
you were
not
saying
saying
something
him.
about cocaine. No, I was saying a separate thing.
No, I'm saying, but a vibe that somebody involved in this thing might have indulged in cocaine or something. Something's no normal about this film. That's Cop, 1988.
Load of shite.
On May 24th, 1988, the Albert Dock in Liverpool was reopened. A new restored Albert Dock in Liverpool. Have you ever been to Liverpool? Have you ever been to the Albert Dock?
No, I've never been.
Here's a wee exclusive for Consulvania and CVXX fans. I fucking love Liverpool. I think Liverpool's a great city. I love Liverpool. What?
Is it the people?
I love the people. I love the city. I just love everything about it. I love Albert Dock. I love down there. But Albert Dock's important because Albert Dock was where they started to do This Morning from with Richard and Judy.
I remember.
Which is going to come in the 1990s.
Also reminds me of, what's the Giza Job show?
Yosser Hughes, Boys for the Black Stuff.
Boys for the Black Stuff. It reminds me as well because a guy gets wheeled in there. It's before it all gets developed.
Before it gets developed.
Run down.
Yeah.
Reminds me of
that. So there you go. Also, on June 27th, 1988, this is interesting. Mike Tyson defended his championship, beat Spinks in 91 seconds.
Is he a boxer?
An interesting thing is, as we record this right now, we're talking about June 27th, 1988, Mike Tyson's fighting the night. Mike Tyson's fighting the night.
He's fighting a 27-year-old.
If a 27-year-old was to stun on my toe, I'd have a stroke, I think. You know?
If I'm in the lift and the 27 comes in, I go out again, just out of respect.
Just out of respect. It would be great to be James Woods, wouldn't it? How we doing for time, by the way? Because Guff don't want us to run away.
We've got half hour still.
Right, okay. Well, in that
games. Let's do games.
Well, can I just put something to you, Ryan? Do you have Dungeon Master on your list?
Fuck, no, I don't.
That astonishes me.
Are you going to talk about it?
Well, we need to do something here because Dungeon Master's a really important Amiga game. Very significant Amiga game that I want to talk about, but I feel like you will also want to talk about as well.
I've
Ryan.
talked about it in the past in Consulvania, so going back through the archives.
I fill my boots.
Huh?
I can fill my boots with Dungeon Master. Let's have a look at what it's like to be a master of the dungeons.
7 years ago, we showed you the prototype of this, the first battery handheld computer. In fact, all the letters can be entered by just remembering the correct combination of fingers. So that's U, D, I, T, H.
Here's Judith in a 1988 episode of Tomorrow's World making an absolute balls up of writing her name into a fantastic new device. I'm showing you this to show you how bad technology was in the year 1988. Take a look at her trying to work a printer next.
To get your hard copy. Off it goes. Well, not quite. Market research showed that the one-handed keyboard was extremely popular with people who'd used it. And this encouraged some of the original backers to find money for this. An original product, an electronic organizer with both the conventional and the new keyboards. And it's extremely easy to use in the way I showed before. So while you're learning the one-handed version, you can use the conventional method.
I really do hope you noticed there that Judith made a balls up of writing her name again. Now, in 1988, market research showed that kids wanted to explore dungeons. You know, it's because of the whole Dungeons and Dragons craze in the early 80s. And, you know, dungeons were just a big thing in 1988. Believe you me. It was, you know, Michael Jackson era. And Dungeon Master on the Amiga was a big deal. Ryan is a huge fan of this game. I'm surprised he didn't dig into this, but he probably played it to death. In truth, even though I'm a huge fan of this style of game, I didn't play Dungeon Master very much. So I had a wee dabble with it. I've had a wee dabble with it over the last week. As a old school wizardry fan, I just, you know, I love this style of game, you know, and I was very pleased by how Dungeon Master played, even though it is, you know, it's very basic and very rudimentary, but it still has a nice atmosphere. I think it's all about vibes. Games like this, the vibes need to be right. And look at these mummies. These mummies remain extremely scary. I had a good play. I heard that you can finish this game in a couple of hours. Some people have finished it in like 1 hour. I found it very difficult to make progress. However, amazing that this game existed in a time of such shit technology.
Where am I? Mark, you're in a room.
And kids wanted
Same-
dungeons.
Welcome to the 3rd level, Mark. Do not waste your puny kitchen magic on me, for I will turn all even before your spell is cast.
Did you also play... You probably did Chaos Strikes Back, is it? Is that what
I don't know that I ever did.
There were data discs, and then I'm sure there was a Dungeon Master 2.
I don't know that I ever did. You know that. What have you got for us games-wise? I want to hear more about games.
Pick one out of Silkworm.
You want me to pick one? Okay.
Silkworm.
Mm-hmm.
Altered Beast. Or Tubin.
Oh. What? So, and you're going to talk about one of them?
Go for it.
Silkworm, Altered Beast, or Tubin. I think I want to hear you talking about. Oh, I really want to say Altered Beast because I think it's rotten. But I feel like it's more significant to us, Altered Beast. Because, you know, I think we quoted it and we always spoke about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe Gay's Altered Beast.
Okay. If you were to ask anyone in my generation what made Altered Beast so special, they would just look at you blankly. Either because they didn't know what you were talking about because they don't play games, or more likely because they have played the game, because everybody from my generation, as far as I can remember, was playing Altered Beast. The milkmen were playing Altered Beast. The chemistry teachers were playing Altered Beast. 100%. Every single school kid was playing Altered Beast. But if you were to ask any is no, what made Altered Beast? Look at these googly eyes. My God, look at the graphics. How did they do that? How did they do it? Wizards. That's the famous line. We still quote that. I can't do it now. Anyway, you've risen for your grave to get that guy's daughter because he can't be fucking bothered. Let's try one more time to get through this. If you were to ask anybody from my generation who's undoubtedly played Altered Beast, what makes Altered Beast so special, they would just look at you blankly. Because nothing makes this game special. Fucking nothing makes this game special. I was only able to get through this footage because I was cheating. Heavy cheating. Which I would never have done back in the day, obviously, because I would have got you shoved back where I came from. What you did in Altered Beast is that you wandered about and just had to deal with the fucking atrocious collision detection until you managed to get enough power-ups that you became the Altered Beast. Or maybe you're always the Altered Beast, even when you're no transformed. But anyway, you turn into a beast. No that type of beast. Just a beast. You just turn into look at a dictionary, you turn into a beast and you have superpowers, and then you fight the thing at the end of the level, and then you start there again on a different level fighting different things. Fucking nae good. It's nae good. And we've all played it. We've all played it a lot. There was something about being a wee guy. They hit something. But the game's shocking. Shocking. I'm no meaning that to tie in with the footage when I'm saying shocking. It's truly shocking how shite Altered Beast is. It's rubbish. It's real. It's honest. I feel now that I've thrown words about far too easily, because this is rubbish. This is rubbish. And I feel like it gets away with it as well. I don't think it gets a hammer that it fucking does it. Look at that. Look at what I'm playing. Even though, if you say to me Altered Beast or something that happens in my brain where I go, oh cool, Altered Beast, oh cool, but fucking look at it. Oh, 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 oh.
Back to the TV world again, right?
We've got one bit of content left. And I think this last bit of content is it's the kind of thing that makes CVXX what it is, I think. Talking about content like this.
In 1988...
You want some water?
Yeah, cool. But I mean,
Do
we're
I
going to
keep
have
some eckies for this bit, actually?
some eckies. Let's get some eckies on the go, because we're going to be talking about. See, if you lived in 1988, if you were alive in 1988, I know a lot of you weren't. You could come home for the pub, and now you pulled out your hand there. You could come home for the pub at night. You could get in your house. You could turn on ITV, and your night wouldn't be over. Your night would be just beginning, because you'd be able to watch The Hitman and Her. Now, The Hitman and Her was, and I've been describing this to people all week, this week, telling people about it. I'm surprised at how few people actually know.
I know.
Obviously, my wife's, it always sounds bad when I say this, my wife's too young to kind of know about the Hitman and Her, right? So she would have been, what, 3
also
in 1988.
What's the proportion, do you think, male to female audience for The Hitman? Or do you think?
You know what? I know that you think it's mainly guys that watched it.
I'm pretty convinced it was mainly guys.
But I don't know if that's true.
In 1988, I'm not watching Hitman and Her for reasons that I know that I watched Hitman and Her in the future years.
Well, listen.
Because I'm only 10, so I'm not a randy 10-year-old.
Oh, I've just... Right, hold on. Right, first of all, The Hitman and Her, just to tell you what it is, I'll just get excited there. The Hitman and Her was... Pete Waterman was the Hitman. Her was Michaela Strachan, and they would present this kind of live show from a nightclub in the UK, and it would go live on ITV. It was live from that nightclub, so it had all the hallmarks of a live show, except it was happening in a nightclub with clubbers in there who were drunk, who were doing their thing, and they would try, with an emphasis on try, to produce a telly programme from that nightclub. The reason why I get excited there, Ryan, was... You fancy Michaela Strachan, didn't you? Do you?
I don't have a memory of her fancying her, but she's definitely an attractive woman.
You fancy Michaela Strachan? No, but I've got a buried memory for years ago of maybe a conversation about Michaela Strachan or something that you have definitely expressed to me.
I fancied her, I don't think. But I mean, if she's still kicking the ball, then send us
let's send us a postcard.
P.O. box, Michaela.
Michaela, if you're still kicking a ball, I think she's still kicking a ball. She does a lot of animal stuff now. Probably her training in the clubbing days as predator for wildlife.
We're in this episode that we watched. I don't know if you watched the same one as me, but it was in Mr. Smith's nightclub in Warrington.
24th of September 1988, Mr. Smith's nightclub in Warrington.
2 minutes in, the first note that I've written is that every single guy that talks to Michaela Strachan is a sleazy, drunken bastard.
Well, the first note I've actually written in that theme is Michaela Strachan's got her wee belly out. I wrote, so I'm one of the guys now.
They can't handle it, these pasty, ordinary guys that are out.
No, so Pete Waterman's done a smart thing here, right? Because he's brought... So Pete Waterman... This has to be said. Pete Waterman is a very talented producer of hits. A lot of Stock Aitken Waterman stuff I really love.
For sure.
Right? That I really love. So credit to him for that. Peter Waterman, I don't know what age he'll have been doing. He's in his 40s anyway, right?
Listen, Jimmy Savile was a brilliant DJ.
I know. Pete Waterman, listen. Pete Waterman does plenty of Jimmy Savile impersonations.
Oh, there's a warble. He actually does a warble. He does
that constantly.
It's a bit of a French, really. Right, back to dancing.
Pete Waterman is in this club. He's a kind of in a suit. He's sweating. But he's brought along Michaela Strachan, who is both young, attractive, probably one of the most attractive people that the guys in this club have seen that week.
Oh, definitely.
But is also an incredibly talented...
She's there to work. She seems like the only one who's only there to work.
She's like a veteran broadcaster in this. She's like a fucking fantastic TV broadcaster who has appeared in this package that's just perfect for this show, right? So I actually think the format is immediately kind of amazing. I mean, immediately kind of appealing, because you've got this guy who's like creepy fucking DJ guy that you
And
see up and down the
also-
length of breadth of the country, and you get this lassie who signifies the arrival of these young women who are fantastic broadcasters, which becomes a thing of the 90s, I think.
I don't think we've spoken enough about how crap Peter Waterman Pete is at presenting, because he's no doing like stuff like looking at the camera and stuff like that, or I don't think he's written like anything that he's going to say. They're off the hoof a lot of the time that the camera's turned on them, and he's the first thing that he says to it is, what is it? Welcome to the world.
Welcome to the world,
especially Great Britain.
Especially Great Britain. You're like, what the
and then
fuck
he kind of winks, but he doesn't even manage to wink because he does that awkwardly as well. He's really, really nervous, it seems.
Welcome to the world, especially Great Britain.
There's a major flaw with the format of Hitman and Her, and that's that nobody can hear each other.
Aye.
So nobody, because we're in the middle of a nightclub, so Michaela Strachan is constantly interviewing people and talking to people, and they can't hear a word she's saying, and she can't hear a word they're saying.
Sometimes Pete just shouts the name of the artist whose music is playing right now, like I burst out laughing when he shouted Phil Collins.
Yeah, I love that. So, Phil Collins!
Phil Collins!
It's beautiful.
Phil Collins!
And it's totally chaotic as well. It's like totally chaotic. I was watching it because what I thought initially was, right, I'm going to watch it and then I'll kind of fast forward past the dancing bits and stuff like that, and I ended up watching every minute of it, because I felt like I could see, Ryan, while I was watching this, I could see why it was such a success in that late night slot on a Friday, Saturday night, because you absolutely can switch your brain off and just kind of look at young people dancing. The Pasadenas! And they shout at Pasadena's, then there'll be Pasadena's music video.
They ask like clubbers to do intros, but they're so fucking hammered that you can't make out what they're saying when they're doing it.
You can't understand what they're saying. Every interaction has that awkwardness, which is like, you know, when you pretend you've heard what somebody said and you try to go with it. That kind of thing. Every interaction has that vibe to it. They have a game called Pass the Mic that they play, which is essentially like a karaoke thing. And Pete Waterman plays in I Should Be So Lucky by Kylie Minogue, which he produced, obviously. And he plays that in, and a lassie takes the mic, and I swear to God, she dances for about 10 minutes without singing a word.
There was no lyrics.
No, I know. And they're shouting, "Oh, sing! You've got to sing!" And she's like, but there's no, because she's not at the bit of the song where the lyrics are, or it's hard to know where the lyrics come in, and it's just kind of disastrous, but also kind of amazing, because we're in a time now where when you watch a telly, everything's so organised and so slick, where it's like not only does everything happen when it's supposed to happen, you're also told when everything's going to happen. You know what I mean? You're told at the start of the show, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do that. This just feels like a really chaotic slide into mayhem at every point.
It's getting cheaper to make telly, I think, is a factor. It reminded me of Indecent Proposal as well, from that live TV channel that we
which
used to
we'll
watch.
definitely cover.
Yeah, it had that just sticking a camera in people's faces and making them do things kind of quality to it.
Michaela Strachan goes into the men's toilet at one point today
and asks what the urinal cakes are. Like, I suppose that's telly. I suppose it's better than nothing.
Every single guy has got a white shirt on.
And a tie?
Yeah, like that. I don't know. It's like Wall Street or something though.
Well, that's the way people went to clubs in 1988 though.
There was also a lot of...
I forgot to bring up, I showed you the link to... There's a documentary that was made by the BBC maybe about 10 years ago. I might be wildly off, called Everybody in the Place. And the intro to that is showing videos of the Hitman and Her, and I can't remember what the time span is. It's about 4 years, so it's from like 88 to 92,
right?
And it's showing you the difference between like the type of cabaret
night
out that you were having in 1988, and then in 1992 the club scene,
Carl Cox and all that, and it starts to get all a wee bit more rave.
It goes warehouse and rave and drugs and techno, and like you can see in Pete Mortimer's face that he doesn't understand what's
you can also see in Pete well, listen, right, I'm going to, this is the thing, a confession. Remember I told you I had a confession to make about this, the Hitman and Her. So I watched this, since I watched this episode of the Hitman and Her, I've watched 3 more episodes of the Hitman and Her.
Dirty
different
bastards.
times.
Dirty bastards.
All the way through. And there's one for like later, like in the early 90s, where Pete Waterman is, I think, completely off his face. Like completely soaked in sweat. He's got no idea what's going on. And this is run about that time. Carol Cox, they're introducing Carol Cox and he's playing, it's a rave scene, and it's a totally staggering, and it's still incredibly entertaining, still has the dancers, still has Michaela Strachan holding it all together. But man, to think that they did that for 4, which is a long time, 4 years. It's a long time.
A lot of stories, I would imagine.
The version I watched of this, by the way, this 1988 episode, there was a lot of adverts for Michaels of Selby.
Reliant owners, sale time at Michaels of Selby means lots of three-wheelers on show, so don't delay, ring Michaels today.
Welcome back to Mr. Smith's,
who is a car dealer and
three-wheelers,
focusing on three-wheeler cars. And I thought to myself, what the fuck is the deal with three-wheeler cars again? Like, that's a thing you don't get three-wheeler cars nowadays, do you?
Don't think so.
Robin Reliance, right? Why would you have had a three-wheeler car? I don't understand.
Well, they're cheaper, maybe.
Were they cheaper? I don't know. Like, I'm genuinely asking this. This isn't a bit. I'm genuinely like, what is the deal?
He's got
with
a sale on, so he's got too many of them anyway, so he can't get rid of them.
Well, he's got, but
Maybe
it's the demographic as well. He's saying to clubbers, get your if you want a three-wheeler Robin Reliant. I'm thinking to myself, is that really who? Is these guys with the white shirts and the ties? Or Michaela Strachan, or these young lassies clubbers, are they wanting Robin Reliant three-wheeler? Could somebody send us, if anybody...
The Pasadenas, do you think the Pasadenas drive about in three-wheelers?
Fucking no chance. Phil Collins certainly didn't drive about in a three-wheeler.
But if he wanted, they would totally pull off.
Listen, anybody, send it to a PO box. Let's get the address up. Let us know if anybody in your family had a three-wheeler car. I know there's going to be Americans listening to this going, three-wheeler fucking cars? I swear to God, in the 1980s.
They were dangerous.
People
really
in the UK drove cars that had, and just to be clear, it was the front wheel that was the one wheel. Just in case you're wondering.
I liked some of the music videos that they showed in between the club nights because they cut to VT every now and again. There was a Womack and Womack song that I really enjoyed.
Whenever I hit goodbye,
that was like an oasis of class, and amongst all this was when they went Womack and went to Teardrops.
Seemed to be, I didn't do research on all of them, but there seemed to be a mix of popular songs of the day, popular kind of properly produced songs of the day, and maybe some stuff that Pete had signed.
Well, yes, right, yes. So this is what's interesting about it, because you have
all the prizes as well, and all the competitions that they had in their wee kind of Buttlinsy bits, were all LPs. He's getting them for nothing.
Well, this is the thing. It genuinely reminded me of like the wrestling, because this is a total Vince McMahon move for Pete Waterman, because he's got his new acts appearing on it, right? So he's promoting them. I think he's also like, see when Womack and Womack are coming on, I'm thinking to myself, he's picked that, I think, because he likes that, because Pete Waterman's a guy who likes old soul and all that, right? So there's songs in there that are obviously just, I like this, so I'm going to play this, right, as well. But it's all like self-promotion, like playing Kylie Minogue stuff, and I kind of respect the hustle of it, do you know what I mean? I respect the hustle of, I'm going to promote my stuff through this format, which is supposedly for everybody and about everything, you know what I mean?
You can only respect it until all the stories come out later, and then you need to retract it all.
But there's no stories. This is the beautiful thing as well. Is there?
We'll see. I don't know.
Why is there no stories about the Hitman and Her though? There's no terrible stories have came out about it. And you would imagine, and that's because I was looking at the comments on YouTube and stuff when Hitman and Her videos were up, and you had people, to a man, to a woman, in these comments, Ryan, saying, these were the fucking greatest nights. People have no idea. Like, these were this was living. This is when people did want to just be happy and all that. And I wonder if it is a wee bit of that, like before the rave scene as well, and before it got really druggy. You know, I wonder if it's something about that era as well. I mean, I don't know. Maybe this era was really druggy
nostalgic,
as well.
I think.
There's a wee Consolvania moment as well, because Aztec Camera Somewhere in My Heart came in at one point, so that was a nice wee. There's a segment in this where Pete Waterman tries to get a guy on the phone. So he's trying to get a guy on this fucking enormous phone, right? And from a nightclub, phoning for a nightclub. If any of you has ever tried to phone anybody for a
They've
nightclub.
just spent half an hour like speaking to people like an inch away from their face, and people are like, I can't hear what you're saying, and he's trying to fucking phone somebody.
And you can tell that some poor production person has managed to get this guy on the phone and handed it to Pete Waterman, and he's fucked it. He's immediately hung up on the guy or something, and they spend ages trying to get this guy back on the phone, and it's just brilliant. And Pete Waterman keeps going like every time something fucks up, he goes, "Proves it's live. It proves it's live, doesn't it?" All the time. It's fucking great. There was a wee appearance by Transvision Vamp, which reminded me that Wendy James, that's her name in it, for Transvision Vamp. Everybody fancied her. I remember that back in the day. She was a big deal.
32:47. I can't remind what Pete did, but he says it's time to wake up your mum.
Debbie Gibson, slowing it down. Now then, this is the time to wake your mum up. Is she ready?
Ian Flynn appears at one point. Ian Flynn is a boy for the local area who is single.
That's right.
And Michaela Strachan says, "What's your type? What you looking for?" And he basically just describes Michaela Strachan.
I just said wee and pretty.
He says small, cute, nice looking, but then later on when it comes back to him, he goes like blonde, small. Right. Just basically describing Michaela Strachan. Also, he should have went for it, shouldn't he? He should have seized that moment and just said you to mistake Michaela Strachan. I mean, that's what I would have done when I was 11. Listen, there's a moment in this that's important for, obviously, CVXX and Consolvania. We come from a computer game background. That's our history. And so it was a very important moment when there's messages from clubbers come up on the screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the messages that came up is it just me, from a woman, is it just me or is the Hitman sexy? Right? Comes up. And then it says in brackets, some mistake surely, -ed, which was the fucking computer game magazine kind of joke, right? The editor joke that you used to see everywhere in the 1980s. I thought that's nice. That's a lovely 1980s thing. They have that fucking some mistake surely moment in there. We've got a dance contest in here. Number 4, Joanne.
Fashion segment as well. We've got as well.
What one?
The fashion segment.
Oh fuck. Yeah,
where Pete shouts out, astonished, £119.
Aye, and you know, people just kind of stumbling in, trying to do a fashion show and all that.
Prices coming up on screen for the shops that you can. It's hustling. It's fucking hustling non-stop, Pete.
Shoes, 30 quid. Know that. You know that Pete's been hustling all week trying to get like free outfits sent to him and all that. Send one for me as well. Send me some trainers as well. Love it. Joanne, number 4 in the dance contest. One of the worst dancers I've ever seen in my life. I fucking loved it.
It's Carol Decker from Japan. Woo! Oh, baby, baby, baby. I might as well face it. I'm falling into deep you and control of me. Without a doubt, it has to be the...
At one point, a snake turns up.
I've got that as well, a snake. That's around about the same time that Ivan the Terrible, and we'll start calling a guy called Ivan. He's a guy called Ivan, so like, what bit of part are coming attached to this guy called Ivan? Ivan the Terrible.
Pete Waterman, Ivan the Terrible. And then the snake turns up, and how does Pete Waterman react to seeing that snake? Right.
I don't remember.
That's
one of his warbles.
And then you've got Robert Palmer singing She Makes My Day.
How good is that song?
Fuck me, man.
Robert Palmer on video.
I feel so lucky loving her. Tell me what else is magic for. She thinks it's better left unsaid.
Amazing stuff. Just a beautiful mellow moment in there.
I was thinking about that kind of, I want to say category of like songwriters that Robert Palmer kind of belongs to. He's not as prolific as a Billy Joel, but he has this kind of real simple way of songwriting. It's just straightforward kind of direct way of songwriting.
Just a guy, right? He's just like, I feel like Robert Palmer was who kind of James Woods thought he was in Cop. Like, because women would totally foil themselves for Robert Palmer. He was an older guy. But
that song
as an older guy, Robert Palmer used to put himself in music videos with Beautiful Woman, and nobody ever went, the fuck's this guy doing with fucking beautiful women
He
around
wasn't
him?
being sleazy though.
No, but he was just like, this is the world I move in because I'm a fucking attractive, smooth, fucking crooner, blue-eyed soul guy. You know, what a fucking boy. Died very young, by the way, Robert Palmer. Died
But
very young.
like, Cop is like James Woods expressing himself in the same way that She Makes My Day is Robert Palmer expressing himself. But that song is like somebody who's in love, like somebody who's speaking to what it's like to be in love. Like, that's what makes him sexy.
Is there a parallel between Cop and the Hitman and her? Is there a parallel between Pete Waterman finding a level of kind of success and fame and coming up with this concept that allows him to surround himself with kind of young people and you know, people messaging the Hitman sexy and all that? You know what I mean? Is that another expression of kind of an older man? You know, trying to grab onto, because I'm sure, I don't know what Pete Waterman's deal is. He was probably just a married man or something at that time, but he probably could have been firing into other women if he wanted to.
Aye, I imagine so. So.
Now, interestingly, today, I was like, what's Pete Waterman doing? Is he still kicking a ball? Or is he where so many people of the 80s are now in the grunt? And he's actually heavy into building model railways.
Train sets.
Yeah, building big model.
All right.
He looks all right. He looks like he's kicking about in these kind of men's shed type environments. I saw him doing a talk about mental health and about how important these kind of environments, men's sheds and model railways and stuff like that, are important for people's mental health and even for young men's mental health and that. And I thought, fair play to you, Hitman. I saw you just last night, absolutely sweating after taking all the Eckies, but fair play to you.
He's called himself the Hitman, hasn't he? He's come up with it.
Oh, he is
I'm
the
the Hitman.
He is the Hitman.
Hitman.
But you couldn't even argue it. You go, what are you calling yourself a Hitman for? Because I've got all the hits. You'd be like, fair enough.
True.
Can't argue it. Can't argue it.
Happy ending at the end of this episode is Ian and Pam are set up for a date. They have 0% chemistry between the two of them.
Zero chemistry. And then they're all just dancing away. And there's a black dancer who has a wig on. I believe his name is Wiggy. He gets called Wiggy by people.
Right, could have been worse. Could have been worse.
Yeah, he's still kicking a ball, still touring about.
Is he Wiggy? As Wiggy?
Still touring about doing kind of Hitman and her type performances.
Right.
So he's still kicking the ball as well. He's not on the ground. So it's good. Listen, it was probably the thing I enjoyed the most of what I mean, is it better than Bad by Michael Jackson?
You're enjoying similar things to me where it's like you don't see like outtakey stuff like this. You know, like TV is polished and overproduced and you're getting fucking highlight reels of what you're watching before you watch it, sort of thing. It's I enjoy the roughness of it and the unpredictability.
Well, I feel like the Hitman and Her is almost like an introduction into what we're going to see a lot of in the 1990s, which is this kind of freewheeling live British telly, which doesn't exist anymore. But you have this kind of chaotic late night British TV, which is really what the 90s are all about. And this is the kind of start of this, I think, starting to appear. This is the start of this movement. And it's, and it's an exciting time ahead. But listen, we're not done yet because that's only the first part of 1988. That's only the first part of 1988.
How many games did we talk about that? That was only 2 games each.
Yeah, well, let's
squeeze in a game.
No, let's squeeze in another wee game.
The snakes.
Lovely, lovely.
Oh.
Actually, I really.
Oh my God. Oh dear.
Super Mario Bros. 3 came out, by the way, and that's such a blind spot for me because I'm not really that. I've definitely played it, but I've never played it all the way through, and I don't have any kind of nostalgic. It doesn't have any HOD on me, Super Mario Bros. 3, but a lot of people say it's their favourite. Not only Mario game, but sometimes game.
Yes, I mean it's a cracking game.
I didn't play. I mean, it's the old story again now. Like we had computers. We weren't playing it for years and years later.
No, we were not playing them. We were playing Whizball. We were playing Speedball 1 came out in the Amiga in 1988.
Did it?
Yeah. Speedball 1 came out in the Amiga. And that's a weird one, isn't it? Because Speedball 1 has been completely, because of Speedball 2, maybe I'll take a wee look at Speedball 1 because nobody ever goes back to Speedball 1.
Go for it.
Do they? Have a look. Ah dear. I feel sorry for Speedball 1. Great music, great sound by Dave Whittaker, the legend himself, of course, but I feel sorry for this game because it's a game that has completely faded, I think, in people's memories because it was completely superseded by Speedball 2, which of course incorporated all the kind of RPG team building elements. In comparison, Speedball feels a little bit like a prototype for that game. I mean, a lot of that game is here, but you really feel the lack of the additional scoring opportunities that were later incorporated into Speedball 2. But you can see that they have the germ of a good idea here. It just isn't quite, we're not realising its full potential here yet. Now, I approached this with an open mind. At Guffed, we always like to try to approach all kind of phenomena with an open mind. And I kind of felt like, maybe I'll just enjoy it anyway. But I actually didn't really enjoy this very much because I was kind of constantly going, I wish I was just playing Speedball 2. It's a painful thing that I suppose it's how all the other retro culture review shows feel when people are watching those and they're thinking, I wish I was just watching CVXX. In case you're worried, by the way, I did eventually score a goal in this. I did eventually score a point. You'll just have to be patient. It'll come along in a minute.
Yes!
That was it there. That was me scoring. What about yourself, Ryan? What have you got for us to bring the show to a close?
Just because I want to look at it myself, I'm going to look at this Amiga game that I haven't played before, Neuromancer, which is based on the William Gibson sci-fi novel, which I've read and really like. So I'm going to look at that game.
Whereabouts? I've never read any William Gibson stuff. What would you recommend?
Well, Neuromancers.
Nah, don't fancy it.
No, don't fancy it. Cyberpunk, innit?
Don't fancy it. So that was a... Right, let's have a look.
Let's have a look.
It's a bit... You tell us live. That's how you know it's live, isn't it?
So that was... let's have a look. Let's have a look at this game footage that I've recorded by accident. It's recorded this looks like a JPEG, but it's actually half an hour of footage when I should have been getting some footage of the game. I've just got some footage of this Amiga emulator that I've used to play Neuromancer. You can't see it, but I'm doing space aerobics, space futuristic cyberpunk aerobics while this music is playing. Neuromancer, obviously out in 1988, it's a point-and-click adventure game. I hope you've read the book, it's really, really good. The loose plot of Neuromancer is that an actual AI hires a load of... Whoa, look at that. I can't actually tell because this is a cyberpunky game whether that's meant to happen or whether my emulation has fucked up. That's cool, but I like that. An AI is hiring a load of crim types, a load of unsavoury types, hackers and the like, to do a job, but the job is to break the AI out. It's to free the AI. That's the loose plot. I would say the game is based on, let's say loosely based on the book. The book is excellent, read the book. Now let's talk about this game. Now, for my playthrough here of this game, I spent an awful lot of time. This happened so many times with old games. An awful lot of time I spent in the first screen of this game. In the first screen of the game going, how do I give this guy this money? Because I owed the guy like $40 odd. Surprised they're still using dollars, by the way, because it's in the future and it's cyberpunk and all that, but they're stuck with dollars. And I owe the guy like $40 odd. But I've lifted out of the PAX system. It's like an internet sort of system that they've got. Out of the PAX system, I lifted 2,000. So I've got plenty of money, but I just can't figure out how to fucking give this guy this money. So I can't leave the room until I give this guy this money. I'm logging into the PAX system, public access system here, and I think you can put in any code and it'll let you in. This footage is sped up 500%, incidentally. I'm reading every bit of notes that I can just to try and figure it out. See, this is what happened in the olden days when you got stuck at a game, is that you explored what you had. You played with a toy that you had to play with, basically. You explored where you could explore. You found out everything that you could find out. It was fun back then. It's not as fun right now. I'm finding it a wee bit challenging, how boring this is. But maybe that says more about me that I find all this reading boring. I find reading boring. What kind of idiot do I sound like? This is exciting. This is essentially reading emails on the first section of the game Neuromancer for 1988. I'm 25-30 minutes into the game and I realise that there's a give item section in that menu there where I can give this guy $60. And that's that. Now we're pals. That's me solved the first section of the game in very nearly under half an hour. That's got to be a record, I would imagine. Now I can leave through the thin grey line that is the door in that room, and I'll look at this, we're in a new section. where there's no really anything to... As soon as you leave the restaurant, the funny wee detail that it instantly gets closed by the environmental health. It's got some comedy in it, this game. It's one of the there's so many point and clicks like that, and there'll be that kind of comedy. Well, this is another one with that kind of comedy. I think the game is set in Japan as well as... I'm not sure, actually. The book's set in Japan. I don't know if the game's set in Japan. I always liked the character names that were in the book. Dixie Flatline. And there's an AI called Wintermute, which I always thought was really beautiful and haunting and scary. Sorry, I'm talking about the book again. I just got chucked out of that body parts shop there. Hamster head. We all remember saying hamster head to each other in 1988, didn't we? We were all saying it to each other. Hamster head. It was a term of affection. If you're not getting thrown out of places in this game, you're getting arrested. You get arrested for everything. It's like a running joke almost that you get arrested for basically everything that you do all the time. There's so many ways to fuck up when you're doing this game. And it's actually pretty tedious, quite intricate detective work that you need to do. You do need to be writing down codes and passwords and stuff like that when you're doing this game. I'm saying doing this game rather than playing this game. It's like you're having to sort something out. It's really, to be perfectly honest, a wee bit of a hassle. That's what this game is. It feels weird to say that because the game's called Neuromancer and so is the book, and the book's brilliant, but this is a wee bit of a hassle, this game. But I'm kind of blind to a lot of the things that I would have seen as pros. The graphics would have impressed me back in the day. The amusing writing probably would have impressed me back in the day, but I was 10 back in the day, so... Is that... Peter Cook? Looks like Peter Cook. Listen, Neuromancer, the game on the Amiga, I'd never played. I continue to kind of wish that I'd never played it. It's hard work, and I just can't really recommend much about it. There's no music through it. It's pretty vacuous. There's a lot of things that are just better to do with your time, I'm afraid. I'm sure you'll agree with me as well, having even looked at this brief footage. There's just so many other things that you could get so much more enjoyment out of than this, you know what I'm saying? Hamsterhead.
So that's it. I would love to... Here's a thing, and we'll talk to Guft about this. I would love to do some special episodes where we maybe have a chat with some of these people from back in the day. I wonder if Michaela Strachan would have a wee chat with us about our memories of the Hitman and her. I'd love to do that. That would be a nice thing to add maybe in the new year.
This is probably maybe a question for Guff than anybody. Do the people still have to be alive for Guff to organise an interview?
That is definitely a question. Oh my God. We should have a seance.
Guffed seance.
Why don't we have a CVXX official Guffed CVXX seance? They'd be able to set that up, and we'll interview, because we can interview Michael Jackson.
Prince. We can interview Prince.
We could interview Prince. He's for run about that time. Who else is dead for run about that time? We could interview Paul Daniels.
The wee lassie for Poltergeist.
The wee lassie for Poltergeist. Fuck me, we could interview her. So let us know if you fancy that. Let us know if you fancy the thought of a CVXX seance to talk to some of these celebrities from back in the day who are sadly gone now. Thanks for watching. Listen, remember to link and describe us to everything, and also give our reviews and just spread the word in general. If you think people might be interested in this, you know, in these long-winded conversations about the past.
Shove it down their throat. Shove it down their throat.
Stick it on. It's like you can get stoned. See if you're into smoking things like smoking ash and all that and all this stuff. Stick it on the telly. We're essentially like Cheech and Chong.
We would like you to be as obnoxious as possible about being a CVXX fan.
Just think of him as Tommy Cheech. He's Tommy Cheech and I'm Tommy Chong. Smoke a big doobie and get CVXX. There you go. Now look at that big biffer he's got. Get that smoked and watch your CVXX. Thanks for watching. We'll see you for part 2 of 1988.
There's 2 parts.
Down the line.
There's 2 parts.